Hey guys, so my resource is called mathcoachescorner.com, and the grade level I have is kindergarten and first grade. The kindergarten site gives you up to 182 resources or online practice for your students, and it covers the standards for kindergarten, and after they master the standards for kindergarten, they also threw in some first grade and second grade standards to go above and beyond. There's also first grade, and they only have about 182 resources, but it does the same thing. Once they master one resource or one standard on there, then they can finish that and go up to higher grade levels still within that first grade section. This would be a nice place to start for teachers who are having trouble figuring out how to teach a certain concept to their students, or figuring out how their students might think and how they could learn this topic. I also think it would be an okay activity for students to practice with, but the only downfall is that it's online and students can't physically touch the objects. What we're going to be working with today is learning to count to 5 with first grade. Or actually, this is kindergarten. The good thing about this is that when you click on this, it'll say one bird and two bird. So that can kind of help your students with, even though they can't physically touch it, they can still count it and see that it's numbers. So once you have clicked on the two birds, you can choose your number. So number 2 would be our choice, and then you click submit. And if it's right, it'll say excellent, and I'll show you what happens if it's wrong. So it says count the mugs, and you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Even though they have 4 numbers, they might choose 5 instead and say submit. So when it does it wrong, it'll say count the mugs and click on each mug as you keep track. Once you go down, it'll tell you what your answer was, and then it'll go through 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's your ending number. So there are 4 mugs, and you can say, got it, and move on to the next problem. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that a teacher use this in class to teach their students the concept. It would be more useful once the concept is learned to practice with the activity. The reason I say this is because, first of all, as I mentioned before, the students can't touch the objects, so it's kind of harder for them to keep track of it. Also, when they get the answer wrong, they have to scroll to the bottom of the page to get their explanation and to say got it. But they can also, if they choose to, there is a got it button right here at the top, so they don't have to read through their explanation and they can just skip over it, and then they won't understand what they did wrong. Although I don't think their explanations are that great with explaining why they might have got the answer wrong in the first place, though. I don't believe that these activities are high DOK. Most of the activities are only one way to answer the question. I'd make it so that the students have multiple right answers, and they get to choose from instead of having just one right answer to find, having like maybe multiple right answers that they could click on instead of finding one right answer in a group of wrong answers. To make this higher DOK, I would have students create their own kind of thing. So they would choose, if we're doing adding, which I don't have pulled up right now, but if they're doing adding the numbers and they're doing 2 plus 1, instead of having to choose on the correct sequence of 2 plus 1, so 2 squares, plus 1 more square equals 3 squares, they'd come up with their own, and they might say they want to do 4 plus 1. And then they could choose, they'd have to draw 4 plus 1, so they could do circles or butterflies, and that's how you'd make it higher DOK to get them to understand their concept more. So maybe you'd have 3 blue butterflies plus 2 blue butterflies, and you would get 5 butterflies in the end. The advantages for this is that students have another way to practice, and it might be fun to them to do it online instead of on paper and pencil, which might seem daunting because they're always working with paper and pencil, and math is just not fun. And kids think that electronics are fun, so they might be more interested in this. The disadvantage is that they don't really explain to you when you get an answer wrong, and they don't help you out as a teacher could. So if you're doing this at home, you might be struggling in being like, well, I don't understand why this is wrong, and it's telling me that 4 is the right answer, but I don't understand why 4 is the right answer if you're doing 2 plus 2. So that's it for you.